Alright, hopefully my camera isn't cropping out too much this, but I wanted to show you a little bit of the painting projects I have going on. This is one of many. I have a couple black powder projects going on, some 6mm naps, 15mm ACW, and 15mm AWI as well, along with a bunch of 15mm World War II stuff, mainly based individually. The infantry for what the heck is it? I can't even think of what it is now. Bolt action, there it is. And then I have a whole lot of 6mm ancients that I'm doing for Hail Caesar as well, and a couple other smaller projects as well. I got this new Sea Eagles rule set. I'm really big into the Age of Sail, especially NAPS and AWI. So I'm currently working on 15mm scale, 1 to 100 scale ships. I have a brig as well as a three-mast sloop of war that I'm working on with all the accompanying crew, and I'll be doing pretty much full rigging on those as well. However, what I wanted to talk about here is one of the many projects I'm excited about that I'm currently working on. And, I'm the kind of guy who I just have so much stuff going on at once that it takes a while to finish up a single project. So, bear with me. But for those of you who have the patience and are going to sit through all my videos showing you my project updates and everything else, I hope that your patience will be rewarded when I start doing my battle reports. I just take a lot of pride in at least trying to put together a good show with the terrain and making sure the figures are fully painted, fully based with flags, everything else. I'm not the best of painters, but like I've said in my other videos, doesn't really matter how good you paint as long as you just slop some on there, base them, so that way they're not looking bland and you're not dragging down other players' games who do take the time to go ahead and paint their stuff up. So what we have down here is what I have gotten started, and this is actually for two different games. I have what you see mainly based in regiments is for AWI, black powder, like I said, and that can be used for other games like British Grenadier as well, stuff like that, but it's mainly based for the black powder system. Behind those regiments, you see individually based figures, and I'm going to use those for a couple different games. Actually, I'm going to use them in black powder as well. So if I wanted to increase the strength of this foot regiment right here, I could simply take a couple of these individual soldiers and put them in the rank there, and that would signify that it has an extra strength point in there. It's one size larger than the normal size. This would be normal, and you add one more on there, and that would be large size. So that would be one option I can use those for. The other option is I have a couple systems to use those for. I have a new rule set that I have yet to try. It's called Light Bobs, and that is a different scale where each figure represents, I think, about 10 to 15 soldiers, something like that. I could be wrong in the approximate scale. It's been a while since I've flipped through the rules, but for the most part, I'm going to use them for that, as well as I do Drums and Shakos, Song of Drums and Shakos. So I will, format those rules instead of naps. I'll be using them for AWI. I also use them for naps. I have some 15mm Napoleonics that I have individually based as well, but I don't have anything, based in up in for larger regiments for naps. So I decided I'm going to go with 6mm for my Napoleonics, and the regiments that I'm doing for 6mm are actually still going to be as long as these 120mm. These are all on 40mm individual bases, and those NAPS regiments will be three bases together equals one regiment. So my 6mm Napoleonic regiments will be 120 millimeters wide. They're going to be massive, and on four of these 6x3 tables, the battlefield is going to be huge, lots of room for maneuvering, combined with huge, tiny little regiments, and I think I'm really going to enjoy those 6mm Napoleonics. I'm looking forward to it greatly. But anyway, I know I get sidetracked a lot here. The Black Powder Rebellion, the book right there in front of you, that's going to require a whole nother video on its own. It's one of my favorite books that I own, out of even my historical reference books that I have that aren't gaming books. It blows some of those books away. I mean, the information contained in there, along with the painted miniatures on every page and the detailed information in it. I mean, it has details straight down to, the facing and the buttons of each individual regiment and what campaigns and theaters they were involved in during what years. I mean, the information in there will just, if you're into AWI, it will blow you away. And like I said, it's one of my favorite books that I own is that Black Powder Rebellion book. So anyway, down below you, I have some regiments I want to show you because I want to show you what I'm working on here. So I'm going to go ahead and unmount the camera really quickly, and then we are going to take a look at some of these regiments. Let me get that stand out of the way there. Hopefully I can keep this stable long enough. But what we have right down in front of us, that's my regiment of light infantry. And those are light bobs, British light bobs. No particular regiment in general. They can be used for a couple different regiments. They usually are part of another regiment anyway. They're just branched off. And we have the commander, one of the commanding units. He is a brigade commander there. He's solely based by himself. And then right here we have Tarleton himself and one of his regiments of Legion Cav. I will be doing two more regiments the exact same size because there's a couple scenarios where he has very, very large regiments of Legion Cav with him. There's other scenarios and battles where he has multiple smaller regiments or a couple medium-sized regiments. So it varies. I want to put together as much as I can. That way I can, accommodate whatever the scenario calls for. This miniature right here is Tarleton himself and his standard bearer back there. I couldn't find any information, nor is there any really historical reference that, dictates whether or not he even carried a standard into battle. So I just went ahead just to, demonstrate on the tabletop that this is a commanding unit. And Tarleton himself, I thought I wanted him to stand out. So I just went ahead and put a normal Union Jack on his standard bearer there. So I think that will make him stand out pretty good. I tried to do the best job I could in terms of the historical uniform that he wore. So if I can turn it around here, maybe get him in the light, maybe you can see it a little bit better. And you can also see that I'm not the best of painter. I never claimed to be, but I think they came out pretty good. One thing that really covers up my lack of painting skills is I think my basing method. I think I got a pretty good basing method that helps make them look good for the most part. So that is Tarleton. And now we'll take a look at his Legion Cav right here. And you can see back there actually is the command unit for that regiment right here. The commander there in the middle is on a lighter chestnut colored horse, and he has the bugler riding along his right side there. No standard, as I've said before. And then you have his other two regular regiments right here as well. So I hope they look good. I'm pretty pleased with them. For my skills in painting, like I've said, I really can't complain. I think they came out really good, and they're going to look pretty good on the tabletop, I think. So we've already looked at the brigade commander and the light infantry right here. And now we'll go ahead and take a look at the 38th Regiment of Foot right here. And I still need to base up the command stand right there in the middle. I'm going to get a Union Jack on one of them flagpoles, and the other one is going to be the 38's historical Jack as well. So they will be looking pretty sharp once they're done. I still also the hats on that command stand. You can see some of the metal from it's been chipped away by my fingers handling them and stuff. And so once I do paint these up, what I do is I have a clear coat sealer that I spray on them, and that helps hold down the grass and the basing, the texture, as well as it protects the miniatures for when you're handling them. Really, really makes a difference and keeping that paint on and safe so you don't have to go through touch-ups and stuff like that. But I think they came out rather well. Like I said, if you've watched any of my other videos where I've talked about 15 millimeter stuff, I'm very new to painting 15 millimeter. My entire miniature gaming life, I've always gamed in the 28 millimeter. You know, a lot of the more popular mainstream stuff like Warhammer, Space Hulk, everything else in between, but it's all been 28 millimeter. So moving down to 15 millimeter, especially at my age, was a huge change. I'm not really old, but you know, it's getting up there to where my hands are a little shaky at times. And also, I do a lot of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, so you know, my hands are always sore with the grips and everything else. And so I find it pretty difficult to paint the 15 millimeter. I wouldn't say difficult, it's just I have to really take my time in it. And you know, I had 28 millimeters down so good, and I was pretty darn decent. Not show status painting, but I was pretty darn decent at painting 28 millimeters. So, you know, when I moved down to 15 millimeter, it was like I had never painted a miniature in my entire life. It really was. I was wondering if I even really wanted to pursue it, but I kept with it and I started getting better and better and better. And eventually they're starting to come out decent. You know, like I said, nothing show quality, but in terms of putting them on the table and gaming, I think they are more than enough, in my opinion. So you can see back here some of the British light bulbs that I've based individually. I have 8 more of those guys to base up and even start. You can see I'm not even done with them. I still got to paint their slings, their cuffs, their facing, everything else. And there's more individual from the 38th. And I have some grenadiers right here. I have 2 separate units of grenadiers. One are marching with their rifles up, and the other have them in, and they're advancing right there on the right hand side. So more than likely, I'm going to take one of those regiments and I'm going to repaint their pants to like a buff color, the brownish color, and they'll be from a different regiment. That way, I can attach them on and off other regiments because I have a lot more of these grenadiers. So I have 2 more regiments that are this size of grenadiers to do. One full regiment has their rifles down and advancing, another has their rifles up. So that's going to be 2 more regiments that I need to do. I also have some British Legionnaire foot. I mean, this is barely scratching the surface what I'm showing you here. I have a lot to do, and I'll get around to it. There's a British commander. I'm trying to get it to focus, and it's not focusing too well. Maybe it's just my painting is ugly, and it's so ugly it doesn't look like it's focused. Who knows? So over here we have some of the command staff. We have a drummer, and what is that? Another grenadier commander there in the middle. And then on the right hand side looks like a foot commander. So those will be used in my different smaller rule sets for skirmish and other tactical battles. Right here is the first of my Continental units that I'm starting off. Let me see if I can slide the 38th out of the way, and then we'll go down and take a better look at them. So you can see I've only based and completed the 1 regiment or the 1 base right there in front. So I'm working on those. They're pretty much all done. I just really need to finish up their rifles and base them up. And then pretty much the whole regiment will be done. I need to put a flag on there. I can't remember what regiment this is going to be. I don't think it's the Maryland because the Maryland had red pants, I believe, but I think it's a Philadelphia Continental Regiment. I'd have to check it out. It's been a little bit since I've worked on my Americans. So you can also see that they're offset basing. The back rank is 4 to a base, and the front rank is 3 to a base. And that's because their rifles are down and aimed forward. And if I was to put them all on 4 to a base, they wouldn't have fit right because the rifles would have been poking them in the back of the head like that. So that's why I had to offset them. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it just yet. If I'm going to have the 3 in the front, or I could alternate it. I just put him in the front for the time being because he was based. I wanted him to be able to show you. But I might alternate it as so. and that way maybe it looks a little more even, a little less conspicuous that it's offset based like that. So you can see we would have 4 in the front, 3 in the front, and then 4 in the front, and then the back it would be 3 in the back, 4 in the back, 3 in the back. So maybe that makes it look a little more standard like that. I don't know. I haven't decided, and it's not like I can't change them up at any time I feel like because they're not all on one base. So I think they're coming along pretty good here. I'm satisfied with my 15 millimeter projects. I'm learning more every time I put a brush to one of them, and I think it's getting better and better. These guys, I was really unsure about painting these guys until I just went ahead and finished up one to uh, to be sure that it was looking good, and I can't complain about that really for my skill level. I did try to put a little bit of variance in there between the packs and everything else. So, like I said, I really don't feel like I can complain too much. You know, this camera's up close, so those eye sockets are looking a little blocky, like they got tan skulls on maybe. But when you come back out a little bit, they look pretty good. When you're playing on the game table, they look pretty natural faces, I think. Like I said, it's not professional paint job, but for my experience level with 15 millimeters and stuff like that, I'll say it once again, I'm entirely satisfied with the job. 38th is going to look pretty sharp when they're in marching formation. So they will look good there. Once that front unit's finished up and they got their flags flying in the wind, I think that's going to be a heck of a unit to photograph and play on the table here. Especially when you got the light bulbs running all around them, skirmishing for them, drawing fire as a screen. So pretty happy with them. We're going to take a look here in a minute at my 15 millimeter ACW projects. I got a couple regiments finished up. I have a full brigade of USCT, U.S. Colored Troops finished up, and regiment of Confederate Cavalry. And I got a whole lot of skirmish-based ACW all finished up as well that we'll take a look at. So anyway, oh yeah, I didn't show you these. These are projects that I've barely even started on here. Let me reach over and grab one. I have several buildings, water towers and other stuff that I'll be doing. These are resin casts from Peter Pig. By the way, all these are 15 millimeter Peter Pig. I really am in love with their sculpts and the quality. There's very little flash on them, not a lot of mold lines. They're just a wonderful figure, and their customer service is great. They're fast shipping from the UK. Anyway, this thing is also from Peter Pig, and it needs some touching up there on for instance, the windows right there. I need to straighten up all the cross beams and everything else, and it doesn't look too sharp at this point. But I think after it's all said and done and touched up finally, I think it'll look pretty good. I have another little shack there. I have, let's see, a church. I have a church right there I need to do. I have a smaller building with an outhouse right there. I have another building up there, and these all have porch awnings or roofs, whatever you want to call them, that I need to glue on there too. I have haystacks, and I have a big water tower somewhere, ACW, AWI water tower. So yeah, I'm excited to show everybody the stuff once it's all together and finished up. And anyway, that is the introduction to my AWI project, my 15 millimeter American War of Independence. So, like I said, it's going to be for about 3 or 4 games. Anyway, guys, stay safe, and until my next video, take care.